Hey guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. My name's Amanda, and today we are going to be doing my September growing TBR. So my growing TBR videos are always videos that I put together each month of books that I add to my GoodReads TBR throughout the month. These are not books that I'm adding to my bookshelves. Those are my book hauls, but these are just book recommendations that I'm getting from various places. I also let you know where I'm hearing about these books from, so that you can check out some of these places that I'm getting my book recommendations from. So this month I added 6 books to my GoodReads TBR. Which I'm happy with. I think that that's a great number. So yeah, not a whole lot, but we got a few here to talk about. So the first one that I have on this list is The Noticer by Andy Andrews. And this and also the next book I heard about from Tori at Oglesby Ohana. She is a homeschool mom mostly. That's what her YouTube channel is about. And so I've been starting to watch some of her videos just in getting ideas for my homeschooling stuff that I've been working on. But on top of that, she's a writer, she's a reader, and so she had during the month of September on her Instagram, she gave away a book every day throughout the month. And so this was one of the books that was one of the ones that she was giving away. And so that's where I heard about it from. So this book is about this town, I think it's in Alabama, where this man shows up and he starts kind of giving wisdom to people, right? Or imparting wisdom upon people. He calls himself the Noticer, and he says that he has this gift for noticing things that other people miss. So you may be thinking that your marriage is on the fritz, and he'll start pointing out things that maybe you haven't recognized. And so this book, I've heard this, what Tori said, is that it's very impactful. It's not necessarily the best plot, but the writing's really good. It has some very good one-liners, that sort of thing. So I went ahead and added it to my list because it sounded like it would be something I would enjoy. All right, the next book on this list is Dawn's Early Light by Elswith Thane. This is the other one that I heard about from Tori, and this is just one that she had posted about on her Instagram stories that she was currently reading. And it is a Revolutionary War historical fiction. I have gotten super into the Revolutionary War time frame recently. We are studying government with the kids, or with my older kids, in homeschooling. And so we're learning about the Revolutionary War and the Constitution and the Founding Fathers and all of that. I've read a few books about them recently. We watched Hamilton. I'm super into that time frame right now as far as historical fiction goes. But this book specifically is the first in I think it's 7-book series that follows 2 different families through the Revolutionary War all the way through World War II. And so it's multiple generations, but this is the first one. It's set during the Revolutionary War. And so you follow these characters, but all of the founding fathers are also in the book. So yeah, it just sounded really good. All right, number 3, I heard about from my mom. I get a lot of book recommendations from my mom, and they were actually up here in September visiting. And so these next 2 actually are recommendations I got from her. The first one is Once We Were Brothers by Ronald H. Balson. This is one that is a World War II historical fiction, and it is about these 2 men that when they were young kids, the one was, I don't know if he was orphaned or what the deal was, but the other family took care of him. And then once World War II came about, the family that was taking care of him was Jewish and he was not, and so he kind of turned on the family. And so this is told years later when they are trying to hunt him down because he was a former Nazi, and the boy of the family that had taken care of him is trying to find him and bring justice to him. So anyway, that's kind of what that one's about. The next one that I got from my mom is The Lions of Fifth Avenue by Fiona Davis. This one sounded pretty interesting. It's dual timeline, and the first timeline is set in the 20s, maybe 30s, maybe. I don't remember. But it is told from the point of view of a woman whose husband works at the New York Public Library, sorry, on Fifth Avenue. And because he works there, or the specific job he has there, they are allowed to stay in the apartment in the library. And so she lives there. And then she decides she wants to become a journalist, and she starts writing all these essays and gets really involved in like the feminist movement back then. And then the other timeline is in 1993, and it is this former woman, or the woman from the first time frame. It's her like granddaughter is kind of coming to terms with her grandmother's essay writing and what it all meant. And she is a curator for the New York Public Library then, and is putting together some stuff, and things start going missing. And so it just sounded interesting. It's set in the New York Public Library, so that's pretty much what keyed me into that. All right, the next one that I added to my TBR it's called Show Me a Sign by Anne Claire Lazat. This is one, my local library put up an Instagram post for deaf awareness. And this was one of the books that was on that post. It is about, I think it might be YA, I think. Don't hold me to that though. But it is about the deaf community that lived on Martha's Vineyard, or in Martha's Vineyard, in the early 19th century. At that point in time, most of Martha's Vineyard was deaf, or New Sign Language. That was the most prevalent language used. And then stuff starts kind of going awry, and they're having like land disputes with some of the Native Americans, and then a scientist shows up and wants to start researching why so many people in that area are deaf. And it follows one specific girl who then becomes kind of a specimen for the scientist. And it just sounded very, very interesting. So that's what added that one to my list. And then the last one that I have on here is The Land of the Cranes by Aida Salazar. And this one I got from the Instagram account Band of MG Books. And this is a new Instagram account that I found that I am obsessed with. She does this really cool thing with all of her posts where she has the book cover, and then she adds like video around it and manipulates it to where it looks like the cover is alive and like part of the video. It's really cool. I really, really love her Instagram account. But this book specifically I added to my TBR because it is written in verse. It's middle grade, obviously. It's written in verse, and it follows a Mexican girl who is in a detention center in the US, a migrant detention center in the US. And so that sounded very interesting to me. The fact that it's in verse and the subject matter just sounded like something I would love to read about, because living in Minnesota, we don't have a lot of interface with that. We know what's happening, we know what's real, but it's not something that immediately impacts us on a day-to-day basis. And so I always think it's important to just expose myself to as many stories as I can about those types of events and just things that are happening in the world. So those are the 6 books that I added to my GoodReads TBR in the month of September. If you have heard of any of these, if you have comments about any of these, I would love to hear those down below in the comment section. And yeah, other than that, I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you stick around and subscribe. And until next time, see ya.